This is probably my favorite week in news as far as the topics we're going to be talking about today, because it's almost like they were tailored specifically for me. Our first two stories are going to be about dogs, and then the rest of the stories are going to be about things I'm interested in. Welcome to Week in Weird. You might be wondering why I always wear the exact same Spider-Man shirt in all of my videos, but that's actually just a coincidence, because sometimes I film these on Sundays and sometimes I film them on Mondays. It's not intentional. Honestly, I should be wearing my GiBi merch, available now in my Teespring store in all my videos, but I'm not. The first story we're going to be talking about this week comes to us from Mirror.uk, which is a site that we've used before. I'm so embarrassed by what my dad named my puppy. I'll never get a girlfriend. Now, according to Mirror.uk, Reddit posts are news. And according to me, Reddit posts are news, so that's why we're going to be covering this story. This entire tale comes to us from a man on Reddit, which means there's like a 50% chance it's not real. So this 19-year-old Reddit user got a golden retriever puppy. He decided to name it Holly, but when you register a dog's name with a vet, it has to have a unique name. This is actually something I had to go through when my dad got a purebred teacup Yorkie. So we had to give her a real name, and then also a stupid registration name that's unique from all other dogs. And this little cute little golden retriever, Holly, was given the name Ms. Princess Hollywood. So when he went to the vet, that's the name that the dog was signed in under. And his dad did this without his permission. Although he was able to see the funny side, he was still embarrassed by the situation, especially because he was sitting next to a cute girl at the vet when his dog's name was called. I was sitting in the waiting room, and a cute girl around my age comes in with a beautiful German Shepherd pup and sits by me, he said. Our pups start playing together, so we inevitably talk. We're hitting it off, talking about the joys and downs of puppy ownership. But then the receptionist steps up and calls Ms. Princess Hollywood. Now, I'm already embarrassed, but it didn't help that while I was still standing up there, they called out Bowser or something else fairly masculine, and the cute girl stands up with her pup. I just walked into the exam room red-faced and never saw her again. This next story about a dog is equally as adorable, but for an entirely different reason. This senior pooch has been crowned world's ugliest dog, and that dog's name is Mr. Happy Face. When Jane DeBainley was looking to adopt a dog, an animal shelter in Arizona gave her a warning before she saw Mr. Happy Face. I was warned he could be inbred because he was so ugly, she said in a statement. The shelter staff tried to prepare me for what I was about to see. And here we have him, himself, Mr. Dog Award winner, Mr. Happy Face. Bainley only got him last August when he was already 17 years old. Less than a year later, Mr. Happy Face is famous. On Saturday, the little canine won first place in the annual World's Ugliest Dog competition. This is the first time the competition's been held in 2 years because of COVID. Look at this little guy. I love him. When I first met him, he was the happiest creature that I had ever met. He hobbled up to me and chose me, she said. I vowed that day he would be so loved that he would never remember how awful his previous life had been. Oh my god. The ugliest dog's second place winner was Wild Thang. Why do all the ugliest dogs have their tongues sticking out like that? Tongue sticking out and dog's cute. Makes dogs cute. I think this might be rigged. Speaking of cheating, or whatever I just said about that ugly dog, we're gonna talk about a Pokemon tournament. Pokemon TCG player competes with jumbo cards at North American something 2022. Even beneath the mask, you can see the smug look on his face. So for context, this is a box of Pokemon cards. This is what a normal size card looks like. This is what one of them jumbo cards looks like. It's just a little promotional thing. You're not actually supposed to use them in the game. Technically, they have all the text on them that the real normal size version of the card has, but they're too big to be used. Except in this kid's case. Also, they're usually only like the main card focused in a product like that, and for that reason, it's extremely difficult to build a cohesive deck around them, but this kid did it anyway. Matthew Ververive has been going viral within the Pokemon TCG community after competing at NAIC with a 60-card deck entirely consisting of jumbo cards. Jumbo cards are usually thought of as novelty cards and collectibles, with nobody actually playing with them. Well, until now. And here's the kicker that kind of brings us all the way back to the Golden Retriever story we were just talking about. In pure Air Bud fashion, I don't know if my audience is old enough to remember Air Bud, but the crux of that movie is that nowhere in the rules did it say that a Golden Retriever couldn't play basketball. And nowhere in the rules of the Pokemon card tournament did it say that there are any rules regarding the size of the cards being played in official tournaments. So he was able to play with his giant cards. These are the normal size cards of his opponent. And he's just having the time of his life here with these enormous cards. That's lovely. This is one of my favorite things ever. He actually took to Twitter to talk about his experience. He said, "Talked with the judging staff afterwards. If I didn't drop, I might have received a disqualification for marked cards. The oversized cards aren't cut up to as high quality standard as regular cards, so some cards could understandably have been identified," meaning like from the back you could tell which is which. And then this article from Invent Global talks about other similar stunts that have been pulled at card tournaments. For example, here's an image of a Yu-Gi-Oh deck that was several thousand cards. It was 2,222 cards large. After this stunt, the official tournament organizers had to make a rule stating that the maximum size for a Yu-Gi-Oh deck would be 60 cards. So maybe now Pokemon's gonna have to make a rule that you can't play with their own jumbo cards. That would be quite funny. So even though he didn't win, in my heart, he won. I wonder if any of you guys noticed that this was back here before I went and got it. I wonder if anyone realized that I went and put it back there on purpose for the use of using it as an example. I wonder if you guys ever noticed when I changed things back there. Hint, hint. This next story is about a different kind of winning. This time it's about winning at video games, or the inability to do so. Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic 2 is currently impossible to finish on the Nintendo Switch due to a game-breaking bug. Knights of the Old Republic 2 is a fantastic game that came out in the early 2000s and was recently ported to Switch by the company Asper. It's the only way I can think of how to pronounce that. But you can't actually beat it as of the writing of this article. According to Nintendo Everything, the game seems to crash following the Basilisk crash cutscene, which is kind of ironic, which happens when the players arrive on Onderon. Unfortunately, it pops up about halfway through the game. Once the players reach that point, there's nothing that they can do. Everyone will simply have to wait for an update if they'd like to complete the game. That's right, you get halfway through the game, a scene plays, and then it permanently crashes and you cannot get back in. I don't know how game development works, or playtesting, or anything of the sort, but I'm not sure how you could publish a game that you literally just can't beat. That would mean that nobody on the development team played the game after porting it. Comment section is hilarious. Would it really be Knights of the Old Republic if it didn't crash? Not to worry, we're still playing half a game.
Not to worry, we are still flying half a ship.
And now for our final story of the week. It's going to take a little bit of context to talk about. So Marvel Comics has this ongoing series called What If? Basically, it takes one character or one situation from within Marvel continuity and it tweaks just one thing to see what would have happened differently. They actually just released a Disney Plus series about this concept sometime last year. But the comic series What If has been going on for a long time. The newest What If comic is about Miles Morales. Miles Morales is the half-black, half-Hispanic Spider-Man who was created by Brian Michael Bendis in the early 2010s, I think? It's been about 10 years. So basically, the conceit of this What If comic is, what if Miles Morales was Thor? So we get to see the life and the adventures of Thor, but instead of being the Thor we know from the comics, it's Miles Morales. But there's some problems with how they decided to execute on this concept. The Root reports, Marvel's Miles Morales What If comic ignites backlash for featuring racist stereotypes. What If Miles Morales became Thor shows Miles living on a version of Asgard that looks more like Brooklyn than the paradise we normally see. There's graffiti on the buildings, shoes hanging from telephone lines, and cars pulled by goats. And then as the Root writes, Black Thor isn't allowed to live in a cold-covered, gorgeously perfect Asgard. He has to live in the ghetto. Miles' dialogue is full of ridiculous and insensitive stereotypes that don't sound anything like the character. His hammer Mjolnir is covered in graffiti, and he yells, "Hammer time." During Miles' opening narration, we get the line, "Of all the 5 realms, Asgard is his hood." The reason Miles is such an instant hit is that he was just a normal, awkward teenager who wanted to help people. Like every other black person, he talks like a regular human being, not a weird blaxploitation caricature. One of my favorite sources of cringe is woke people accidentally being extremely racist, and I think that this entire issue of What If fits that perfectly. Oh, good lord. Okay, so these text boxes are narration, so we have, but he is low-key when he wants to be. Name on marquees like his uncle low-key. First of all, they rhymed Loki with Loki, but also the opening narration is like, they're trying to rap. And yeah, like I said, graffiti everywhere, shoes on wires, hammer time. This one tweet claims that at some point he yells, "By Odin's Fade." I don't see any proof of that, but at this point I'm not going to doubt it. Once again, the comment section's fantastic. He yells hammer time and they don't even give him parachute pants, WTF. Oh my god, it is real! By Odin's Fade. Alright, so that's all for this episode of Week in Weird. Of course, if you want to catch next week's episode, you should like, subscribe, and ring the bell. And see, the reason that you want to do that is because sometimes there's consistency between the episodes. For example, last time I talked about how I ordered a box of Pokemon cards in the mail, and I got an empty cardboard box, and I told you that story, and I said I'd update you on it, and so now I am. I'm not going to get up again, because I already did. But back there, I'm totally blocking it from view right now, back there, you can see my new Professor Juniper box. I had to go to GameStop because the GameStop online people would not give me a refund. So I had to physically go to a GameStop store, and they allowed me to trade my empty cardboard box that came in the mail empty for a brand new sealed one. Unfortunately, many of you people wanted me to keep the empty box as a keepsake, as a conversation starter, and they wouldn't let me because they had to actually then send the empty cardboard box back to the Pokemon Company for, damages. They had to report it as a damaged item. So I did not get to keep my empty cardboard box, but the situation resolved itself, so I'm fine. The names you see scrolling by right now are my patrons. Now, last episode I also asked you guys if you had gotten anything interesting in the mail recently, so I have 2 of your comments to highlight that I want to read. Jack says, "I recently received 3 months worth of Loot anime boxes in the mail, which is already a bit strange. I was looking forward to seeing what I was missing while they just weren't shipping me anything for 3 months with no reason. Turns out, they sent me 3 of the exact same crates. Now I have 3 of the same Attack on Titan shirts. Yo! Hit me up. I don't think we're the same size, but I'd love an Attack on Titan shirt. 3 of the same plushies that I don't want. 3 key charms that are not surprisingly the exact same. And 3 of the same other item that I don't even care to look and find out what it is. That is a customer support complaint waiting to happen." And then Surprise Raisin says, "While not as cool as your empty cardboard box, I recently got a single eraser overnight couriered to me, which made me laugh. I bought a selection of art stuff online, and the seller forgot to include the eraser. I sent them an email to let them know, thinking I'd get $1 credited to my account with them or something, but hilariously I got the eraser sent out all by itself instead. That is actually funny." That's like, if you buy a Lego set, which, I have a lot of experience with, if it's missing like one piece, then they just send you that piece in the mail if you complain. That's adorable. I'd love to see a picture of your single eraser. I don't know if any of you guys have Twitter. It seems like not a lot of you do. But yeah, no, that's if you follow me, if you're Surprise Raisin, if you follow me on Twitter, please send me a picture of your raisin. No, of your eraser. At the very least, raisin and eraser sound kind of similar. That wasn't too bad. Don't send me a picture of your raisin. That is a customer support 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 wow.